Hello and welcome to Easy Math channel. This week we will learn about solving fractions, and within the fraction we will look across, or we will try to understand four different things: how to add fractions, how to subtract fractions, how to multiply fractions, and then reduced form, or also let me take the pen. Cool. Reduced form or also simplified form. Simplified form, also known as simplified form. So before we jump into going through examples for each of these four types, oops, let me correct this. This is in. So fraction, let's just go through the definition and what exactly fraction means. So fraction in simple English, it just represents a part of a whole number. Or for example, 1/2 is a fraction. 3/4 is a fraction. And in a fraction, we have numerator and a denominator. So for example, let's say if this is my fraction, a over b, or let's just use a real example, let's say half. So 1 is called a numerator. So number on the top, which is 1, is called numerator, and the number at the bottom, which is 2 here, is called denominator. And fraction is such an important concept in math, and every single person uses fraction in some or the other way in his or her daily life. So for example, let's say you buy a bar of chocolate and you have to distribute the chocolate among, say, two people or two kids. You know that you'll have to, in order to give equal amount of chocolate to both the kids, you would have to give half of the chocolate bar to one and half of the chocolate bar to another. Or for example, another classic example would be pizza. So let's say you order pizza, or a bunch of friends get together and order pizza, and there are like 8 of them, and they order an 8-slice pizza. I don't even know if a pizza with 8 slices exists, but let's say the 8 of the friends got together, they order an 8-slice pizza. So they know that each friend, or you know that each friend can only have a slice of pizza so that everyone gets pizza. So since there are 8 people, there are 8 slices, so each individual get 1/8 of the pizza. So 1/8 represent a slice of the pizza. So that's another fraction. We use fraction in, like I said, in every day-on-day basis. It's just that we might not realize it that we are using fraction, but those are some of the examples that might help you, that how an individual uses fraction in his or her life. Okay, so with that, let's jump into solving some examples for each of these cases. So first, we will start with addition. So how to add two fractions. So in the first example, we can see that we have two numbers, 3 over 4 plus 2 over 8. Now, in order to start this fraction, the first step, or before I jump into solving this, so you will see two type of fraction, where one is where the denominator is different, and one where the denominator is the same. So we will talk about what to do when the denominator is different versus what to do when the denominator is same. So going through the first example, the first step would be to always find a number that is present in 4's table as well as 8's table. So denominator 1's tables and denominator 2's table. So if I write 4's table and then 8's table, we can see that it's 4, 8, 12, 16, and so on and so forth. And for 8 is 8, 16, 24, 32, and so on and so forth. And we can see that 8, 16, 16 are the numbers that's present in both 4's table and then 8's. There are others too. But if we find multiple number, always pick the smallest one. So in this case, it's 8. And this 8 is also called as least common multiple. So the first step is to find a number that is present in 4's table and also in 8's table. And we found out that it is 8. Step 2 is to compare this denominator and then this denominator. Now since it's different, so 4 and 8, it's different, we will find out what times 4 equals 8. So we know that 4 times 2 equals 8. So we will multiply this 2 with this numerator, so which is 3 times 2. And since we are doing addition, and this you can see is plus, the next step would be compare this denominator with this denominator. And since it's same, we will just use the same numerator as is. Or the other way is 8 times what is 8, so it's 1. So either you use 2 or you can multiply 2 with this 1 as we did here. It's one and the same thing. Therefore, our answer would be 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 times 1 is 1. 2 times 1 is 2. So 6 plus 2 over 8, which is 8 over 8. And 8 over 8 is nothing but 1. Cool. Let's look at another way of solving the same thing. So let me write down the question again here, which is 3/4 plus 2/8. Now let's say, so our step 1 was to find out a number that's present in both 4's and 8's table. Now let's say that you have a hard time finding out that number. The easier thing you can do is, or this is another way, just multiply this together. So 4 times 8, which is 32. That would be a denominator. And then we will do 3, which is this numerator, times this denominator. So numerator and then this cross multiplying, plus this numerator times this denominator, which is 4. So again, cross multiplying. So what is that? 3 times 8 is 24, plus 2 times 4 is 8 over 32. And if we add 24 plus 8, it's 32 over 32, and that is 1. So this is another way. So if you cannot find a number that is present in both 4's and 8's table, this is the another way of doing it. It will be a little bit more, it will require a little bit more of multiplications and then solving it compared to this form. But again, the final answer will be the same. Cool. So let's look at the second example where the denominator is same, which is 7. So in this case, we don't have to do anything as we did in the previous example. If the denominator is the same, we'll just use the denominator as is. And we will just add the numerator again as is. So nothing is required. So this would be nothing but 5 plus 9 is 14 plus 7. And this is nothing but 2. So 14 divided by 7, or 14 over 2 is 14 over 7 is nothing but 2. So when the denominator is the same, it just becomes a lot more easier. We just use the denominator and we just add the numerators as is. And that's how you do addition for any given fraction. Let's look at the other method, which is subtraction. Now, no matter addition or subtraction, the way of figuring out denominator remains the same. So the only thing that will differ in addition or subtraction is this sign. Like everything will remain the same. Everything will remain the same as is. It's just that the sign will differ or will change to minus. but all other concept would remain the same. And let's look at here. So again, I will use the first method here. So find out a number that's present in 9's table and also 3's table. So if I have to write the 9's table and 3's table, it's 9, 18, 27, 36, and so on and so forth. And then 3, 6, 9, 12, 18, and so on and so forth. And we can see that 9 and then 18 is present in both 9's and 3's tables. And if you remember, whenever if you find more than two numbers, always pick the one which is the smallest. So we'll pick 9, and 9 again is also called as the least common multiple for 9 and 3. So we'll pick 9. Now this was the step 1. Step 2 is comparing this numerator, this denominator, and then this denominator. And we'll say what times 9 is this number, which is 9 again, so 1. So we'll use this 1 and multiply it with the numerator, so 7 times 1 minus, since we are dealing with subtraction. Now we'll compare this denominator and this denominator. So what times 3 is 9? So 3 times 3 is 9. So we will use this number and multiply with 2. So 2 times 3. So we get 7 times 1 is 7. 7 times 1 is 7. Minus 2 times 3 is 6 over 9. So 7 minus 6 is 1, and then 9, which is 1 over 9. So that's how you solve a subtraction. And let's look at another example where the denominator is the same. So if you remember, if the denominator is same, we just use that denominator as is, and then we'll just subtract again the numerator as is. So in this case, 9 minus 7 would be 2 over 5. And that's it. So it's similar to how we did addition. The only difference, as you can see, is just the sign. It's just the subtraction. Everything else remains the same. Okay, so let's move on to the other part, which is multiplication. Multiplication, if you want to compare addition, subtraction, and multiplication for a given fraction, multiplication is the easiest. So all you have to do is, so for this example, 2 over 3 times 4 over 8, you just multiply numerators together and denominators together. So this would be 2 times 4 and 3 times 8. So 2 times 4 is 8, 3 times 8 is 24, and we know that we can also write 24 as, again, 3 over 8, and we can cancel this 8 and this 8 from numerator and denominator, and we only get 1/3. So multiplication is just multiplying numerators together and then multiplying denominators together. And sometimes you would find within multiplication some form of parentheses. So parentheses is nothing but it's just 5 multiplied by 2 over 3. Or we can also say 5 is nothing but 5 over 1 times 2 over 3. And then this question becomes similar to the first one, where we just multiply all the numerators together and then all the denominators together. So we get 10 over 3. And that's just multiplication. It's nothing but multiplying all the numerators together and then denominators together. That's it. The last part for this video is reduced form or simplified form. So by that I mean that if you are given a fraction, how further can you reduce it, or how further can you simplify it? So for example, we have this fraction, which is 28 over 63. The first step would be, again, to find out a number that, or a table that has both these numbers, or find out a number or a table, one and the same thing, or find out a number that has both 28 and 63 in its table. So, and that number is 7. And if you look at 7's table, you have 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42, 48, 54, 63, and 70. So we have 28 present and we also have 63 present. So the next steps, the first step is to find out a number that has both 28 and 63 in its table, and that is 7. So the other way we can write 28 as 7 times 4 is 28, and also 7 times 9 is also is 63. So we can write this fraction in this form as well. And we can see that it's 7, we have a 7 in the numerator and the 7 in the denominator. We can just say 7 over 7 is 1, and we are only left with 4 over 9. So that is how you reduce a given fraction to the most simplified form. So 28 over 63 can also be written as 4 over 9. Let's look at another example, which is 121 over 88. So we'll have to, step 1, we'll have to find out a number that has both 121 in its table and also 88 in its table. And that number is 11. And we can see that 11, we can also write 121 as 11 times 11 and 88 as 11 times 8. And since we have 11 in the numerator and 11 in the denominators, we can say it's 11 over 11 is 1. And we are left with 11 over 8. That's the final answer. And that's also the most simplified form of this fraction. Now you may think that what if you cannot figure out, a number or a table that has both the numerator and the denominator, what to do then? And that's a good question. And here is a solution. So let's say I have this number, which is 24 over 42. And let's say we tried looking out for a number that has both 24 and 42 in its table, and we just cannot figure out. The other form, or the other easier way we can use, is now we know that both 24 and 42 are even numbers. So we know that they will be in 2's table. So 2 times 12 is 24, and also 2 times 21 is 42. So we know that both the numbers are present in at least for 2's table. And then this is 2, again 2 over 2, which is again 1. So now we are left with 12 and 21. But again, this is not the final answer, because we know that there is a table that has both, or there is a number that has both 12 and 21 in its table. Or the other way of writing 12 is 3 times 4 is 12, and 3 times 7 is 21. And again, we have 3 over 3, that is 3 over 3 is 1, and we are left with 4 over 7. So this is another way of, when you are trying to reduce a given fraction to its most simplified form. So if you cannot find out directly what table or what number is it, so for example 7 in this case, 11 in this case, so what number is it that has both numerator and denominator in its table, it's easier to see that we can start with the smallest possible number. So in this case, since we know that this was even, 24 and 42 are even numbers, they should be present in 2's table. So 2 times 12 is 24, 2 times 21 is 42. We get 12 over 21, and then you can further reduce 12 over 21 by this way, and then the final answer would be 4 over 7. So that's it. I mean, fractions, I know at the beginning might sound very complicated and very confusing to solve, but with practice and with the logical idea of what a fraction is and how do you subtract or how do you add or how do you multiply or how do you reduce, a given fraction into its simple form, it just becomes easier. And once you get comfortable with it, fraction, you would be able to solve any kind of fraction with, if you want to add or multiply or subtract in no time. So I hope this video was useful to help you understand what a fraction means. How do you add, subtract, multiply, or reduce a given fraction? If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel, Easy Math, and please leave your comments below and feel free to share this video with all your friends. Thank you, and I'll see you next week with another video. Thanks.